GBNews' political correspondent. Tom, how was it tonight? How was it for you, darling?
Bev, I've got to say the atmosphere here has been electric. It's now been about 15 minutes after the event and people are still hanging around, talking, buzzing on their toes about what has been going on. I've got some of the people who were in that audience, indeed some of the people who asked questions this evening with me now. And madam, if you'd step forward first, what did you make of this evening?
I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I came to make a decision. I'm leaving still not making a decision. They were both brilliant. Whoever gets in, we've got a cracker.
And are you leaning towards anyone individually?
I've leaned both ways tonight. I've gone with Rishi and then back to Liz and then back to Rishi and back to Liz. I asked the question of Rishi. He gave me the answer I wanted, and that was about the green belt. At the moment, we're getting a lot of green belt being built on. In Culcheth, where I come from, I'm a borough councillor for Culcheth, Glaythbury and Croft. My name's Carol Benson, and I'm fighting passionately to stop them ripping up a field that has currently got corn on it and has had corn on it for hundreds of years and stick houses on that we don't need.
Well, that's such an interesting perspective, because, sir, if we can bring in you, sir, because you asked a question about house building, and that's almost sort of the opposite end of this discussion. What did you ask?
I asked what the Conservative Party was going to do about increasing the building of housing, because the multiple of or the value of housing has gone up from 4 times average earnings to about 8 times, and fewer people can readily get onto the housing ladder.
And do you feel like your question was answered?
No, I don't think it was. We need to build more houses, and we need to ensure that people have the ability to buy them, and we haven't got that. And
really interesting point there. I'm going to leave you there so we can get through as many voices as we can. Madam, what did you make of this evening?
Well, I enjoyed the whole show basically because it gave me a better opportunity to get to know who is actually the one who will lead this country in the right direction. My burning question was about the hospitals, because when in 2019 Boris Johnson came into power, the Conservative Party's manifesto said there'll be 40 new hospitals, and when I hear that at the moment out of those 40, 80% have got no completion date, or they will possibly be built after the general elections. On what my worry is that what's going to happen if we run out of funds, and when we're going to run out of funds and the whole project collapses.
Really, really interesting and important point there, affecting not just Conservative members but also people up and down the country. I think often we forget how much overlap there is between what Conservative members think and what people in the country think. Sir, what did you make of this evening?
I thought it was a really excellent format. I came to the debates between Boris and Jeremy Hunt in the time that Boris was elected, and I thought that the whole way that it's being done now is much slicker, and indeed I think there's much more scrutiny of all the candidates. I thought that Alistair was very, very good. I thought he asked Rishi some really tough questions, and I've got to say I think Rishi did a fantastic job in answering them. Every time I see him, he impresses me more and more.
Really interesting stuff there. Thank you so much. And excuse me, what did you think of this evening?
I thought it was marvellous, yes. So I've seen both these candidates at the local gigs that they were doing in what would have been Knutsford and Chester, and I cast my vote. I was very difficult to decide.
Do you mind asking who you're voting for?
Yes, I voted for Liz. It was a very hard decision, but I went for that decision, yes. And hopefully she'll do a good job.
Well, interesting stuff. Thank you so much for talking to us, sir. And you have been sort of wavering. We were having a little bit of a chat earlier. You've been wavering. Has tonight helped you make up your mind?
I was swaying towards Rishi at the start, but he has put on a really good performance tonight, and I liked his little piece at the start about being an underdog, but I think he has really shone with those tough questions. Alistair did ask some hard questions to both candidates, but Rishi just come across so strongly. Would have liked to have heard more about his plans for rail, especially given that we're in Manchester, so the Goulburn link of High Speed 2. I know Liz has promised to build Northern Powerhouse rail in full, but there's no commitments from either candidates about the Goulburn link. I live in Preston, so it would really affect me with High Speed 2 trains to Preston in the north, so hopefully whoever does come into power will get a solution on that, and we'll hopefully see shovels in the ground.
Interesting stuff. Well, thank you so much for talking through, and thank you to everyone here for staying behind and talking through what was an extraordinary event. Hopefully this has helped people make up their minds, potentially even moved the dial in this leadership contest not long to go now. One of the last most significant events of this leadership contest here exclusively on GB News.